So it's a slasher movie based on a comic, and Jay Baruchel is directing it. What could possibly go wrong?
Guys, we are in the middle of nowhere. We need to figure this out. Oh my god, what the fuck is going on?
Random Acts of Violence is the newest Shudder exclusive directed by Jay Baruchel. It stars Jesse Williams, Jordana Brewster, Jay Baruchel, and Nia Rome, and it tells the story of Todd, the writer of the hit comic series Slasher Man, as he's going on a tour cross-country to celebrate the end of his series. And he's faced with the horrific real-life ramifications of his work when a masked killer begins imitating the murders from his comics and bringing them to life. I'm personally a big fan of actors who do comedy generally taking on horror movies because there's an interesting overlap between the genres and I think it allows for some very interesting takes. Jordan Peele, John Krasinski, it's becoming a trend and I'm pleasantly surprised to say that Random Acts of Violence is a damn good addition to that trend. Honestly, for a slasher film based on a comic directed by Jay Baruchel, it's not bad. There are a lot of breathtakingly animated comic book sequences when we enter Todd's mind, and the visuals of this film have a certain vibrant, poppy color scheme that makes them look like pop art. Its moments of violence are honestly disturbing in their realism, especially given the subject matter, and there's plenty of gore for all of you who love that. It doesn't reinvent the wheel by any means when it comes to the slasher subgenre, but it's still a pretty entertaining watch with a unique comic book flair. Its themes are centered around our society's fascination with violence and exploitation in media, how that media can inspire violence, which in turn inspires art, which in turn inspires more violence. This is a slasher film after all, the subgenre that created success with an arms race of who could make the most fucked up death scene. So that kind of meta-commentary brings up some interesting points. It's very similar to Ethan Hawke's struggle in Sinister. The idea of an artist getting too close to his inspiration to the point where it starts bleeding into his real life and affecting reality around him is an interesting one. At what point does art start to cross over into exploitation? How much of real life should be included in transformative media before it becomes in poor taste? And in the event that somebody is inspired by that art to try and recreate it violently, is it the fault of that person who had the idea, or the fault of the artist? This is kind of what I was getting into with my discussion of Mercy Black a while back, and honestly, if you want to see why that movie is a fucking atrocity, watch this movie beforehand so you get an accurate blueprint of everything they're doing wrong. I do think the movie loses some credit for undercooking those themes a bit, especially since it doesn't really do anything to differ itself from the movies that it's taking jabs at. If your movie is including graphic depictions of violence with an almost Seven-esque level of harrowing realism to them, and you're trying to talk about how violent media can inspire violent behavior in the right situations, while doing nothing to separate yourself from the violent movies that you're talking about outside of just addressing it, that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? On top of that, I've always found the idea that people who are fans of gory entertainment and horror films are a bit fucked up in the head to be a bit condescending. Don't get me wrong, I'm plenty fucked up in the head, but it's just your general anxiety and depression, and I would never seek to hurt anybody actively. It's just a bit of an overly preachy message for a movie that includes some Hannibal levels of corpse artwork. Still, with those critiques aside, I did have a good time with this movie, and it's a promising debut from Baruchel. I think once he gets a bit more experience behind the camera, he's going to turn out some great films. I'm going to say that Random Acts of Violence is good for fans of slasher films. If you want a good, violent, interesting movie that'll give you some interesting ideas to chew on, I would definitely recommend checking this out. It's gory, it's entertaining, and its realistic depiction of murder ultimately boils down to a random act of violence against your corneas. I've never read the comics that this movie is based on, but now I really want to see if it differs in any way. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, click down there, like, comment, subscribe. There's a Patreon link down in the description if you want to donate to this channel, help us grow, make new, better quality content for you all to enjoy. I would really appreciate it. It would mean a lot. You could be like all these cool people right here and get all sorts of access to cool new rewards, anything from access to my private Discord server to gifts sent right to your door once a month. If any of that interests you, please consider donating. I would really appreciate it, but even if you don't, thank you so much for watching anyway, and I will see you all very soon.
I can't wait to show you.